Namaste, and welcome to this yoga for beginners. Inhaling, lengthen through your spine, take your eye gaze upward. And exhaling, flex through your trunk, let your head descend. Inhale, lengthen and lift, eye gaze upward. Exhalation, contracting within, allow the head to come forward. Again, inhale as you extend through the spine and take your eyes upward. Exhaling, flexing through your trunk, head comes forward. Now inhale back up into a neutral position. Yourself circle your ribs to the right and back, and then left and forward. Again, rib cage right and back, left and forward. And now reversing, left and back, right and forward, circling the ribs, off of the hips like this, awakening through the core of the body. Feel what that feels like within. And start to shift in such a way that you're able to move through the trunk, hinging at the hips, folding forward, maintaining a neutral spine. Keeping that breath free and deep, lengthening through. And then from here, draw your way back and up to neutral, and then developing more completely through the back bending. With the pelvis vertical and the hands behind you, lift your chest, head and eye gaze upward, developing farther onto your elbows, lifting the chest, gradually extending through the neck so the head descends, still keeping breath free and deep. Come back up and trying it again, hinging at the hips as you fold forward, still neutral through the spine so you can breathe completely. Inhaling as you lengthen through, exhaling, taking it a little bit farther. And draw your way back up through neutral. So we might again deepen into the extension of the spine. With the pelvis vertical, lift the heart and the head and eye gaze. Those of you who are more flexible might come down onto your elbows, lifting your chest, extending through the neck. Head might release back behind you. Still keeping your breath free and deep in any and all of the Hatha Yoga positions. Now from here, as you draw your way to neutral, we'll take a turn to the left with the left hand crossing the right knee. Right hand reaches all the way back behind you. Head and eye gaze turning and looking to the left. And a last breath here. And then as you release, come back through center, and we'll take that twist in the opposite direction. Left hand crosses to your right knee as the right hand reaches back behind you. Two sit bones completely on the ground. You might be able to reach that hand, right hand all the way back to your left thigh, as long as your spine still stays neutral so we can keep that breath free and deep. And as you release, come on back through into center. And we'll start to shift as we do into a kneeling position with your knees as wide apart as your thighs. And then hinging at the hips, fold forward, starting to establish the base of the following position. This is a half of a triangle. Turning your right foot into the inner left knee, shift the two hips towards your left knee, lengthening ribs off hips, use right hand anywhere along right leg, and turn and look towards your outstretched left hand. Breathing as you reach through, opening through the left side of the waistline. Doing so, maintaining the neutral spinal length. And then from there, we'll come back through center, pausing for just a moment to start to shift to your second side. With the left foot into the inner right knee, shift both sides of the pelvis down towards your right knee. With left hand along the left thigh, turn and look towards your outstretched right hand. Breathing as you reach through, opening through the right side of the waistline. And one more breath here. Then as you release, come back through our centered position. Hinging at the hips, fold forward, allow yourself to rest for just a moment. pausing to experience the effects of this beginning approach to the challenging triangle posture. Next, shifting into this half version of extended side angle with your right foot a thigh distance away from your left knee, hinging in the hips. With the two arms reaching out to the sides of the shoulders, head and eye gaze can turn and look to the right. Doing so as we work through this version of the first possible warrior posture, Virabhadrasana. So keeping the hips squared, and then release and pausing as we shift into your second side. Now, opening your left leg, so your left foot is underneath your left knee, thigh distance away from your right knee. Shifting so that both sides of the pelvis are squared forward as the arms reach to the sides of the shoulders. Head and eyes will turn and look to the left hand. Still reaching back through that right side, keeping the hips evenly squared. Then releasing and pausing to take a combination of these two positions as we construct extended side angle in this beginner's version. With that right foot as it was before, a thigh distance away from left knee, shift the hips towards left knee, right arm's helping to support you, and reaching that left arm up and over your left ear. Head and eyes turn and look underneath that left arm, opening through the whole left side of the waistline, left side of low back, and last breath. And then as you release, we'll come back through center and begin the construction on the second side. With the left foot under the left knee, a thigh distance away from right knee, shift both sides of the pelvis towards the right knee. Ribs are shifting off the hips, equal and opposite. With the right arm reaching overhead, head and eye gaze can look up and under that right arm. Left arm's helping to support the process. Now as you release, come on back through center. And taking the legs now a leg distance apart in your forward restful position, we'll start to have a more complete expression of these postures. In forward restful pose, spinal length is maintained, so is the free and deep breath. Now from here, as you release and you draw your way upward, your legs are a leg distance apart. Hinging at the hips, sending both hips down to your left heel. Allow the right hand to come anywhere along right leg. Head and eyes can turn and look up to your outstretched left hand. Breathing as you're reaching through, opening through the left side of the waistline. Working that left hip back as you're able. Then releasing, come on back up through center, and let's change it to your second side. Left leg opens to the left with a deep lateral rotation. Both sides of the pelvis shift down to your right heel. With the ribs equidistant away from the hips, allow left hand to support your way along the left leg. Turn and look towards the outstretched right hand. Head and eye gaze is upward. Towards that right hand, 90 degrees off the right side of the body. Now as you release, come on back forward yet again into your forward restful posture, Prasarita Padottanasana. Long and neutral through the spine, so the breath can also stay free and deep. Now shifting into a more complete expression of Virabhadrasana 1. Opening to the sides of the shoulders with the arms, keeping the hips squared forward, lunging into your right knee. Head and eye gaze turns and looks to the right as we continue reaching back through left arm and back with left hip. Reaching left arm straight up will give you that sense of alignment from the left hip all the way to the fingertips. And with a sense of it, come back through center, and we'll start to shift to your second side. Rotate open the left leg to the left. Left knee is lunging towards 90 degrees with the two hips squared forward. Arms reaching to the sides of the shoulders. Head and eye gaze looks towards the outstretched left hand, still with an awareness of reaching back through right arm and reaching back through right hip. Reaching the right arm upward will give you the sense of clear alignment from right hip up to the right fingertips. And then releasing, come on back through center, and putting these two positions together as we construct Parsvakonasana, lunging into the right knee with right knee opening to the right. Let the two hips shift down to the left heel. Right arm will come anywhere along right leg to support you and maintaining a neutral waistline length, and reaching that left arm up and overhead. Head and eye gaze can look up and under left arm. And as you release and come to center, we'll shift it to your second side, opening your left leg to the left in a deep lateral rotation, bending your left knee towards 90 degrees. Both sides of the pelvis can adjust towards your right heel. Left arm anywhere along that left leg to support you, and reaching that right arm up and overhead. Head and eye gaze can look underneath your right arm, helping to open through the whole right side of the waistline. And then releasing. Take your way back to forward restful position, and breathing as you're reaching through. You might use your hands behind the neck to help to traction the head downward towards the ground, away from the shoulders, elongating the neck, as long as that is comfortable for you. And then releasing from here, taking your knees together, hinging at the hips, folding forward into a prayer position, with your arms reaching to the ground and the head downward, feeling a gentle stretch in your back. And from here we'll start to come on up into a standing position. And once you're standing and you're vertical, pause for a moment to feel your head on top of shoulders, shoulders over hips, and with a neutral and vertical pelvis, lift up your left leg. Press your left foot back and release, pressing and releasing, pressing and releasing. Seeing to it that the pelvis still stays neutral, strengthening through the back, our body core, as we practice this one-legged balance. And then sustaining with that left foot pressing back until you're able to take a moment and release, circling out the knees, ankles, feet, and toes in one direction as well as the other. Now sensing that plumb line right through the crown of the head, picking up your right foot, pressing the right foot back, back, and back, suspending it back, still staying neutral and vertical in with the pelvis. And now holding that right foot back with the hands behind the back, strengthening through the back, and then releasing. Come back to center and circle your knees, ankles, feet, and toes in one direction, as well as into the other. Now shifting into standing on your right leg, as we start to open with the left knee to the left ankle crosses the right knee. Hands behind the back as you hinge at the hips and fold forward. In doing so, if you needed your hands holding onto something forward, as I just gestured, you could hold onto a bar. And with your comfortable balance, maybe hands are behind your back, opening the chest as we strengthen through the outer right hip and stretching through the left hip. And now pausing to take a break and shifting to your second side, standing on your left leg, crossing right ankle over the left knee, hinging at the hips as you lower downward, still maintaining that neutral spine. And if you need to hold on to something in order to support the spine, you're welcome to. When all is well, hands can be behind the back, lifting up through the heart. And then when you release, come on back out, and again, circling the knees, ankles, feet, and toes in one direction, and back into the other. Now from this little one-legged balance practice, we'll come down onto the ground, and working into the core of the body with the hands behind the thighs, lift the knees up, lift the feet up, and then start to extend through the knees, still maintaining a neutral spinal length, working as you're able, now with maybe just one leg extending and the other one bent, and then alternating to the other side, stretching through left leg, with right knee bent, maybe holding with both hands behind both thighs as long as you need to, until such point as you're ready to release the arms. And you can take the hands to one shoulder, elbows to the side, and start to cross left elbow to right knee, and then right elbow to left knee, still maintaining the spine neutral. Once you get the hang of it, you might pick up your pace just a bit, crossing to one side and then the other, exhaling on each cross, perhaps extending through the arms, reaching hand to foot. A little more challenging as long as your back feels well with it. You might enjoy it, maybe two hands to both feet, taking the head towards the knees, still maintaining neutral spine, and perhaps the full expression of the boat position, with the hands releasing from the feet, balancing on your sit bones, strengthening through the abdomen. Always welcome to use the hands behind the legs should you need to, and then slowly we'll start to lower our way back, still maintaining the neutral spine, lowering back slowly and surely, and with the head and feet almost all the way to the ground, still strengthening and then releasing. Pausing with your head and feet on the ground for just a moment and then drawing knees into the chest. It's a little bit of a back stretch in your wind relieving posture. And then from here, as you're able, start to take a gentle turn over to your left side, and similar work for the core of the body, lifting your 2 feet up and the head's lifting and your whole body is balancing on the left hip and the left side of the trunk, the left arm. Then from there you can release through center and roll over to your right side with your 2 feet lifted, the head's lifted just gently. That right arm is reaching, and in doing so, the whole body is balancing on the outer right hip and right side of waistline and shoulder. And from these 2 sides, strengthening the core, hug the knees back into the chest, into your wind relieving posture. And from here, we'll flip over onto the belly, and once you do, we'll be strengthening through the back again as well. So working through the whole core of the body, just lift up your tailbone a little bit, and then release it down. Now building on it, tailbone lifts, as do the legs and the head. Now start to shift the feet slightly side to side as the arms are gesturing. In doing so, strengthening through one side of the back at a time, and then holding steady and strong in the center, symmetrically strengthening through both sides of the back, through both sides of the low back. And then from here, take a break with your head down, perhaps onto the hands, resting in crocodile posture, feeling the effects. Now from here, as you're able, you can start to develop upward with your right hand reaching back to your left foot, drawing that right shoulder back. It's a half bow position with a rotation. Then as you release, we'll work in the similar way on the second side. We'll start to come up onto the forearms. The left hand and the right foot are going to connect, reaching your left hand back behind you to your right foot. Lift the right knee up. You can turn and look to the left. Breathing as you're reaching through, stretching through these diagonal components of the trunk. And then as you release, come on back through center and let your head rest back down. This time maybe with the chin on the ground. Now perhaps into bow position with both hands back to both feet, lifting up through the head and the chest, allowing the knees to lift, and with it you can breathe and let that breath bring you into a gentle rocking motion. In that way, opening through the chest, and then taking a break. Come up and back with your hips and back towards your heels, and you might bend into your mat so you have a little more cushion, folding it over again and again. So now your pubic bone might press down into a little more comforting cushion in the mat, so that as you resume your bow position, you might feel more comfortable, be able to take it a little bit farther and deeper, using your breath to help you to move. And then from here, shifting the hips a little side to side, we'll come up and back, stretching that mat back out as well. So from there, we can come up and over into a seated position. With your left leg under, cross your right leg over, stack the 2 knees on top of one another as we begin the process now of turning to your right side. Left hand will cross over the right knee. Right hand reaches back behind you, perhaps all the way to the right foot. Lengthening through the spine, breathing. and releasing when you are able. Come on back through center, and we'll change it to your second side. With right leg under and left leg over, stack the knees on top of one another. And in doing so, we'll begin the turning through the spine to the left. Right hand crosses over, and left hand will wrap back behind you to the ground, or maybe to that left foot. Of course, it's on the right side of the body, so not to be confused. Breathing as you're reaching through, lengthening through the spine, and then releasing. And let yourself come on back and rest onto the back for just a moment. Drawing the knees in into a position so that they are nice and close by the hips, so you can scoot. The pelvis can be nicely pressed into the ground, taking your legs up to the ceiling in Viparita Karani, holding steady and strong as you breathe and reach through here, allowing some of the good blood flow to come into the head as we release through the hamstrings. And from here, take a break and shift your knees side to side. In that side to side shifting, we're opening up through the lateral aspects of the hips. As such, keeping both knees over to the right. Cross your right ankle over the left knee. It's a pretty nice stretch through the outer left hip. And breathing as you're reaching through, you might also feel the sensation in your low back. And then from there, come back up through center and take your two knees to the other direction, to the left. Crossing your left ankle perhaps over the right knee for the deeper expression of the stretch. Feeling the stretch through the outer right hip and low back. And here, drawing your knees back into the chest in your wind-relieving posture, helping you to digest and to release. And then from here, as you're able, let yourself come onto your back completely in your corpse position, resting and experiencing the changes that have taken place inside your body, giving yourself a chance to integrate what's come up for you during this practice of yoga for beginners. In doing so, allow yourself to experience the changes that are taking place in your body, mind, and spirit. Let yourself release any patterns that have come to your attention that are no longer serving you, so that instead you can ever more completely embody your truest intentions, your desire to keep that breath free and deep, and the spinal length long and maintained, so that in all circumstances in our life we can continue to access our true values, our higher self, our higher nature. Allow yourself to rest here on your back for as long as is just right for you. If you wish to pause the video so that you can continue that way, please do so. Otherwise, join me as we come back up into the vertical position, noting the changes that have occurred. Namaste.